January 9, 2007. A crowded convention center in San Francisco. Steve Jobs walks onto a stage and holds up a device that will change everything. But 3,000 miles away, in a corporate boardroom in Waterloo, Canada, two men are laughing. They're not just any men, they're the co-CEOs of the most dominant mobile phone company on the planet. A company that owns 50% of the smartphone market in America. A company whose devices are in the pockets of presidents, celebrities, and Fortune 500 executives. Their company is called Blackberry. And they're about to make the most expensive mistake in tech history. This is the story of how arrogance, denial, and a handful of catastrophic decisions killed a $70 billion empire, in less than 7 years. To understand how Blackberry fell, you need to understand just how powerful they were. In 2007, Blackberry, then called Research in Motion, or RIM, wasn't just a phone company. It was a cultural phenomenon. The term crackberry entered the Oxford Dictionary. Barack Obama fought the Secret Service to keep his Blackberry when he became president. Oprah called it one of her favorite things. Mike Lazaridis and Jim Balsillie, the co-CEOs, had built something remarkable. The Blackberry wasn't pretty, but it was powerful. Physical keyboard. Instant email. Enterprise security that made IT departments weep with joy. Battery life that lasted days, not hours. In 2009, Fortune magazine named RIM the fastest growing company in the world. Their stock price hit $149 per share. They had 50 million users. BlackBerry Messenger, BBM, was the WhatsApp before WhatsApp existed. But here's the thing about being on top, you stop looking up. You only look down at the competition you've already crushed. And that's exactly what BlackBerry did. Let's go back to that January day in 2007. Steve Jobs unveils the iPhone. No physical keyboard. All touchscreen. An iPod, a phone, and an internet communicator in one device. The crowd goes wild. But back in Waterloo, BlackBerry co-CEO Jim Balsillie watches the presentation and isn't worried. Not even a little bit. According to the book, Losing the Signal, by Jackie McNish and Sean Silkoff, Balsillie later said, "It's kind of one more entrant into an already very busy space with lots of choice for consumers." Mike Lazaridis, the technical co-CEO, was even more dismissive. When his engineers showed him the iPhone, he reportedly said it was impossible. The battery would die in hours. The touchscreen keyboard would never work for email. Users would hate it. He was partially right. Early iPhones did have battery problems, the touchscreen was awkward at first. But Lazaridis made a critical error, he assumed consumers cared about the same things he did. BlackBerry executives saw phones as work tools. Apple saw them as lifestyle devices. BlackBerry focused on email efficiency. Apple focused on making you feel something when you used their product. Former RIM executive Larry Conley later admitted in interviews, "We laughed at the iPhone. We said, good luck with that. We were wrong. Dead wrong." By 2008, BlackBerry realized they had a problem. The iPhone was selling fast. So they did what any company does when they panic, they tried to copy their competitor. But they tried to do it, while still being BlackBerry. In November 2008, they launched the BlackBerry Storm. Their first touchscreen phone. Their iPhone killer. It was a disaster. The Storm had a clickable touchscreen, the entire screen would physically press down when you touched it. In theory, It gave you the tactile feedback of a physical keyboard. In practice, it felt like typing on a squishy calculator. Tech reviewer David Pogue of the New York Times wrote, "The storm isn't just bad, it's shockingly bad. The click screen is a solution to a problem that doesn't exist." The storm was plagued with software bugs. It froze constantly. The battery died quickly. Verizon, their exclusive carrier partner, was flooded with returns. But here's the real mistake: BlackBerry rushed the storm to market before it was ready because they were afraid. Co-CEO Mike Lazaridis later told Bloomberg, "We had to get into the touchscreen game. We felt the pressure. Maybe we moved too fast." Instead of playing to their strengths, security, email, enterprise, they abandoned their identity to chase Apple's audience. They forgot who they were. And in business, the moment you forget who you are is the moment you start dying. July 2008. Apple launches the App Store. 500 apps on day one. Within a year, over 100,000 apps. This wasn't just a feature. This was a paradigm shift. Suddenly, your phone wasn't just a phone. It was a gaming console. A GPS. A restaurant guide. A banking terminal. Whatever you could imagine, there was an app for that. BlackBerry saw apps as nice to have, not essential. Their app store, BlackBerry App World, launched in April 2009, 9 months after Apple's. It had 1,000 apps. Most were terrible. The development tools were clunky. The approval process was slow. Developers abandoned BlackBerry in droves. Instagram. iPhone only. Uber. iPhone first, BlackBerry maybe never. Snapchat. Not a chance. Former BlackBerry developer Tyler Lessard told Canadian Business Magazine, developers didn't want to build for BlackBerry because the tools were from 2003. Apple gave us modern development kits. BlackBerry gave us headaches. But the executives didn't see the problem. In a 2010 interview with the Wall Street Journal, Jim Balsillie said, "I don't think that typing on a piece of glass is the future. I think the ecosystem needs to fit around the device, not the other way around." He was essentially saying, the world should adapt to us, not us to the world. That's not confidence. That's arrogance. And the market was about to punish them for it. By 2011, the walls were closing in. BlackBerry's market share was collapsing. They dropped from 50% to 10% in just 4 years. And at the worst possible moment, their leadership structure fell apart. BlackBerry had 2 CEOs, Lazaridis and Balsillie. 2 men. 2 visions. No clear direction. Lazaridis wanted to focus on technology and innovation. Balsillie wanted aggressive expansion and brand deals. He tried to buy the Pittsburgh Penguins hockey team twice while the company was hemorrhaging money. In October 2011, BlackBerry suffered a massive global outage. 70 million users lost service for 3 days. 3 days. The company's response? A bizarre video apology from Lazaridis where he looked like a hostage reading a ransom note. No clear explanation. No accountability. Just awkward corporate speak. Tech journalist Walt Mossberg wrote in All Things D, "This isn't a company. It's a slow-motion train wreck run by people who don't know how to stop it." By January 2012, both co-CEOs were forced out. The board appointed Torsten Heinz, a company insider who, in his very first press conference, said, "We don't need to make drastic changes." Yes. He actually said that. The company was dying, and the new CEO's strategy was, stay the course. It was like being on the Titanic and the new captain saying, let's not overreact to this iceberg situation. January 2013. BlackBerry makes one last desperate play. They launch BlackBerry 10, a completely new operating system. Modern, touch-friendly, app-friendly. And you know what? It was actually good. The BlackBerry Z10 got decent reviews. The interface was smooth. The multitasking was innovative. TechCrunch called it a legitimate smartphone OS. But it was 6 years too late. Developers had moved on. Consumers had moved on. The enterprise customers, BlackBerry's core, were switching to iPhone and Android because that's what their employees wanted. Even worse, BlackBerry made another catastrophic error. They announced that BlackBerry Messenger, their secret weapon, their competitive advantage, would finally come to iPhone and Android. Why would anyone buy a BlackBerry now? The one thing that kept people loyal was BBM. And now you could get BBM on better phones. By September 2013, BlackBerry announced they were cutting 40% of their workforce. 4,500 people. Gone. In November 2013, they reported a $4.4 billion quarterly loss. Not revenue. Loss. The company that was once worth $83 billion was now worth less than $5 billion. Torsten Heinz was fired. The company went private. And the once mighty BlackBerry became a cautionary tale taught in business schools around the world. So what killed BlackBerry? It wasn't the iPhone. It wasn't Android. It wasn't bad luck. It was pride. It was the refusal to admit that the world had changed. It was the belief that being first meant you'd always be first, but that's not the case. Today, BlackBerry still exists. They make cybersecurity software. They're profitable. But they're a shadow of what they were. And somewhere in a museum, there's a BlackBerry bulb next to a rotary phone and a telegraph machine. A reminder that in tech, you're either evolving or you're history. The question is, are you learning from their mistakes? If this video opened your eyes to how empires fall, hit that like button. Subscribe for more stories about the rise and fall of tech giants. Because the next BlackBerry, it's probably being built right now. And they have no idea what's coming for them. Thanks for watching.